Well, 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 my friends, we're back again. Happy Thursday evening to those of you on this time zone, this part of the world, and happy Friday to those of you who are coming to us from the future. Happy to be here with you for some more sound experimentation this Thursday evening. We've been doing lots of experimenting on these Thursday night streams. And I like this approach. I think I used to want to make streams and videos about things that I really know well and things that I can teach and pass on my knowledge to you. But what I think we've found in the past, however few weeks that we've been doing these streams is that when I have no idea what I'm doing, when we're just doing a bunch of confused experimentation, it's actually a little more fun and we discover some things together. So, you may have seen the setup in the thumbnail, but it has evolved since I took that picture this morning. This is what we're working with this evening, this setup right here. Now, I was, thinking about, should we potentially do something with the Teenage Engineering KO2 since that just got an update, but I got a couple enthusiastic responses when I mentioned the Moog Mother-32 in Discord, and it seems like that's the more experimental route. So we've got this semi-modular analog synthesizer, the Moog Mother-32, right here, ready to go. We're going to control it with the Launchpad Pro. You know it, you love it. We got the Microcosm hologram pedal. And interesting enough, we've got the Roland P6 here because I thought perhaps we would get a little drum groove going along with this synth. So I don't know. Let's see where the evening brings us. But how's everybody doing? I'm going to brighten up that overhead shot a bit if I can, and that should look a little bit better, a little bit brighter, a little bit better. Hope that looks good for you. And then I've also got an up close cam because I don't know what I'm doing with this section right here. Literally have no idea. I know I've got all these. I don't know what we're gonna do with all these, but there seems to be fun to be had here. And Dungeon Master, I'm happy to see you here because I know you'll be able to perhaps guide me through this process if you so choose, if the bourbon doesn't go down too easy, that is. So you drink the Old Forester. Very good, very good. I like a nice Wild Turkey 101, the nice cheap stuff, but I like to try a different one here and there. We always like to experiment and try different beverages in this house. Barista Beats is enjoying some coffee. So we've got both ends of the spectrum here. We've got people getting cozy in for the evening with a nice bourbon. We've got people maybe starting their day with a morning coffee. Hello, Aodi. It's nice to see you as well. Thank you for joining us today. And Tabe, congrats on your album release. That rollout with all that content you're doing and your premiere with the visuals all looked excellent. So congratulations and thank you for the 3 years, the 36 months of being a member. Much, much appreciated. How you doing, Nate G? Yo, have you had a chance to look at the Create Audio Assembly? This is so many words here. Create Audio Assemble Rand, the Atom Synths Warthog. What are those words? Did you just get me to say a secret code word that awakens sleeper soldiers? That's what it feels like. Let me type that into Google and see if Google can understand. Assembler and. Let's bring it up. I'm not sure what this is. Oh gosh. I've certainly not seen this. Hold on, let me bring it up on screen. I've certainly not seen this. How about y'all? What even is this thing? What am I looking at? A hybrid concept. is a new modular Eurorack synthesizer with total recall capabilities and DAW integration. Total Recall. I've heard of that movie. It seems a little intense. I don't really understand the scale of it. Like, is it massive? I mean, it looks pretty big. What's the price? What's the price? What's the price? Like, what kind of thing are we dealing with here? TBA. No pricing yet. Here, should we take a look at this video? Ooh. Pause my background music. Let's see what we got going on here. I don't know what y'all are trying to do to me. You're trying to get me into some weird stuff. I'm all about the MIDI controllers. Do y'all know whose stream you're at? I mean, it sounds cool, but I would like to see the gear and not this little side view. And see, the DAW integration is like, do people want that? I will not speak on behalf of a community that I am not a part of, but it seems like the whole point of this kind of rig and this kind of gear is to be independent, DAW independent, or computer independent. But maybe I'm wrong. I wonder what the recall aspect is about. So how does that work in terms of patching? Snapshots in real time. So what is it? Like, you make your patches, you hit a snapshot. Okay, that actually looks kind of nice. Those pitch and mod wheels. Were they wood? Are they really wood? Oh gosh, I'm not even gonna try it again. Pretty interesting. Oh god. But also interesting that they're selling it as one big thing. I don't know. I'm ignorant to all this stuff, so apologies if I'm saying something dumb. Maybe they sell the components individually. But a little intense for my blood. I'll stick with our little semi-modular situation. Gateway drugs that we're working on. That's kind of intense, though. Looks cool as hell. My primary modular is a Buchla 200E, and having preset storage and recall is quite liberating and has huge creative potential. Yeah, is that something that a lot of machines come with, or that's like a nice to have? It's like semi, is it common or not common? Seems like it would be very nice to have. You're looking at the second mortgage on my house. Yeah, I don't know. Is that a current article? Like, is this a product that was just announced? Yeah, Superbooth 25. I have gotten a couple emails from people being like, hey, are you going to be at Superbooth? I've never gone to Superbooth. I don't know if there's a TAETRO imposter going to Superbooth, but people seem to think. Oh, six grand? Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. That's not crazy. Nothing wrong. I don't know enough about the product to make a price assessment, but $6K is a pretty penny for a big synthesizer. It's a lot of money to spend on a synthesizer. You can buy cars for less money, used cars, but nonetheless. Beta Run, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us here today. I like this little evening crew that's coming around, cycling frugally. Nice to see you as well. Rick Mans, did I already say hello? Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting. Happy that all of you are here. Like flying over the desk there. Yeah, it's an interesting shot, but come on, it's your gear announcement. Show me what this thing is doing. DAW integration would be rad, actually. Okay, I stand corrected. Dungeon Master, what do you want to take advantage of in terms of DAW integration? I mean, at least if you could have some multi-track capabilities, some clock syncing, I'm sure would be welcome. What's up, Light Bloom? Thank you for joining us here today. Y'all, if you are new here, welcome to the stream. Also, if you're lurking in chat and you haven't said hello yet, as you can see, we're a very, very welcoming, very, very kind community. So thank you for being here. Say hello in the chat. We would love to welcome you and let us know if it is your first stream. We've been live pretty much every Thursday doing some different sonic experiments. We've got some fun experimentation lined up today. So that's what we'll be getting into after a little chat. We always like to have a little chat, little music making, little chat, little music making. It's meant to be a cozy time. Are there any budget synths with the capability of saving presets? I just know the Microfreak. I think pretty much every entry level synth, call me out if this is not correct, but I think most synths you can save presets on. Most like full featured synths. Yeah. I think that's a very common feature. But I don't want to assume that and be incorrect. That's true. It does depend on what DAW integration means. What does DAW integration mean for a big modular rig like that? Obviously, if it's a controller, you know, like, okay, DAW integration means I'm going to be able to control different things in my DAW, but what does DAW integration mean for this giant Euro rack crazy thing? Yo, Bad Lucks, thank you for the appreciation. I appreciate you watching and showing your appreciation. I do have also, to let you all know, I have a video coming out on Sunday that is about groove boxes and how to kind of like talking about how groove boxes are a great device for beginners and what to think about when purchasing a groove box. So look forward to that. And there will also be a free download dropping tomorrow because it's my birthday. So stay tuned for that. I'll be dropping that on Instagram. Perhaps when we get to the end of today's stream, if somebody reminds me, I'll drop the freebie a little early. It's just one small keyboard, sample-based keyboard instrument that folks can use that I made with Soundbox. So dropping a freebie tomorrow. Oh, it's your first time here, Kent, at 4:15 a.m. Well, thank you for tuning in late in the evening, earlier in the morning. Appreciate it. Chris says, I like lurking though, because sometimes I only get to watch for a few minutes. That's okay. Even if you're just lurking, even if you can only watch for a short amount of time, just say hey. And of course, if you are watching now, and you have to tune out, or if you have to go somewhere, this stream with all the past streams is available under the live tab on the channel. You can watch all the last archived streams. AK10, I'm curious to see how you use the Launchpad. Mine has been sitting for a while. Yeah, I mean, I had considered pulling out the APC64 again, but since the Mother-32 has a straight up MIDI input, I figured why not just use the Launchpad. And we've got a like multi-track sequencer on the Launchpad. That's what we'll be taking advantage of today. M smokes a lot. Hopefully not too much. Make a beat right now. I want to see how to do it. Well, that's kind of not the vibe of the stream. Today's going to be not quite a beat making tutorial stream. Thank you for all these very nice happy birthdays in chat, by the way. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm excited for low pass filter sweeps. Peak that resonance and get weird. We're doing some acid here tonight. Well, not doing acid. That's not what I meant. Acid music. Of course. Moog Sound Studio included the Mother-32 DFAM and Subharmonicon. Wait, didn't somebody share that exact setup in Discord yesterday? Which, by the way, if you want to become a channel member, you can get access to our Discord and a bunch of other perks. There's members-only content on the channel. Yeah, check this out. Trekkie, I guess Trekkie's not here this evening, or not here yet. Posted this in the Discord. This is what they got cooking up at home. And then Dungeon Master got the Mother-32 in his setup as well, with the chaos over here, I noticed. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, this is intense. It looks very cool. But perhaps that's our sign that it's time to start making some sound. So, as I said at the beginning, this is not a stream where I know what I'm talking about and I'm going to bestow some knowledge onto you or anything like that at all. This is a stream where I am kind of clueless and trying to discover what is going on with this setup here. So let's just get into it. And there was the question earlier, which, by the way, if you have questions as we go, feel free to ask them in chat. And if you are in chat and you have answers to those questions, feel free to answer people's questions as we go along as well. But let me see, I might have just lost my chat. window so I can see what y'all are talking about. All right, here we go. I didn't realize that setup was called the Moog Sound Studio. That's pretty intense. I thought that was like a plugin collection or something. But yeah, how much is that full kit? Oh, and Barista Beats, it probably won't let you share a link in chat. It just automatically blocks them. All right, so what do we have going on here? Semi-modular analog synthesizer. It is monophonic, which means we cannot play chords with this synth. We can play single notes at a time. And that's what it currently sounds like. Now, there are things on this synth that I'm really unsure what I'm doing. But it does have that nice analog goodness. And for those of you wondering about the Launchpad Pro, so we are connected via this MIDI out from the Launchpad Pro into the Mother-32. We can obviously control the notes, and this has a built-in sequencer as well. So if I press play, you can see the sequencer is running, or at least hopefully you can see that the sequencer is running. And I can put notes onto the sequencer. So let's just program a quick sequence, and I'll make these notes kind of short just to start. Yo, Dustin McAdams, thank you for jumping in. Yes, night crew. It's the night shift. Put another hit there. And then, of course, Dungeon Master said to crank the resonance. So that's a very basic sound. We've got our decay here. You know what? Let me talk to you about something that really grinds my gears. You probably cannot tell from this angle. First of all, the Mother-32 is very well built. I'll say something kind first. Very well built. It's basically like, here, let me switch to my side cam. You can see that it's sort of built so that it points up at you, like it's angled, right? Which is nice because you're sitting here and it's angled. But now, let me bring you over to my POV. Oh, not that. How it's angled here. Sorry. Sorry for my camera work. So here's how it's angled when I look at it. And the thing about this is all the labels for what the knobs are above the knobs. So I'm sitting here looking at this synth and I cannot see the labels for any of these knobs, despite the fact that it's ergonomically tilted towards me. Like it's supposed to be like, oh, look, you can see the synth, but they put all the labels above. So if above the knobs. It's like they were like, here, we designed this thing, but we didn't actually sit at it. Or maybe it wasn't going to be angled originally. I don't know. It just seems such like a no-brainer design thing. But we won't get too much into complaining territory this evening. That's just my one pet peeve of the evening, okay? Anyway, so this sequence that we have playing through, which we can also extend the gate length of all these notes. Very basic sequence that we have going. I've got attack and decay. Those are like our most simple parameters that we can toggle. We also have a sustain on or off. So if I bring attack up, we obviously lose the attack on the note. If I bring the decay up, we're going to get longer notes. We also have a glide, so we can glide between these notes. And we have this frequency knob here, which is okay, so that is like the basics of the basics. Now, in addition to those basic controls, we have all this other stuff that I don't know what I'm doing with. Of course, you saw me tweaking the filter, cutoff, and the resonance. We also have pulse width. We have mix between the VCO, which I assume is, I don't know what VCO stands for off the top of my head. I assume the O stands for oscillator. But this is a level mix between the VCO, the oscillator, and the noise oscillator. So we can have just noise, which is a nice texture to add into the sound. Voltage control oscillator, thank you BA, much appreciated. And you said, how would you compare the responsiveness of the pads to the Machine Micro? I have not used the Micro in a long time. So I wouldn't really be able to say, but the Launchpad Pro is a newer device. But I do remember all the Machine products have really good sensitive pads. It's just been a while since I played it, and it's an older product, so I can't answer that with 100% certainty. What I will say is the biggest difference is obviously the size of the pads on the Machine Micro. Another Machine Micro is another ergonomically designed controller where it kind of faces up at you. VCA mode on is great for some drones. Okay, let's start there, Dungeon Master. What do I need to know about VCA mode? VCA mode on. And when you say VCA mode, I'm on EG at the moment. Oh, I see. I flick this button. I flick this switch for VCA mode on, and we just get constant notes. So does that essentially turn it into a drone? Is that what's happening there? Let's bring the cutoff down. Okay, cool. That's good to know that we have that. Good to know it's there if we want to make drones. For now, we've got enough control with the sequencer, I think, where we can extend the length of notes anyway. So I don't think we'll use that at the moment. But the next thing to play with is, of course, I would think, is the LFO. So we have an LFO rate here. Now, one thing I'm not sure of, and maybe this gets to us patching some stuff for the first time, will be tying the LFO to different parameters. But our LFO rate is currently down. So I turn the VCF mod amount up. So let me check my understanding here. I like having these little check-ins as I go to see if I understand what we're talking about. Okay, pause. We've got the LFO. Currently, it just seems like by default, the LFO is tied to the filter cutoff. Am I right about that? Please help me understand. And while I get an answer on that, thank you or hello to Hail Nomad. Thank you for joining us today. Good morning to you, my friend, from the past. So, okay, BA confirms it, yes. It's basically automatically tied to the cutoff. So is there any way to untie that? Or is it when we eventually patch it into something else, it no longer does that? Or will it always do both? Okay, I see. Probably correct until you patch it with the bay. Well, let's get into that. I don't know if this is a good angle, if y'all can even see what's happening. I hope I will knock this camera over at least once during today's stream. All right, so I guess what I'm looking for is LFO out. I see LFO rate. Is that what I'm looking for? LFO rate? Do I see any other obvious thing? There's LFO triangle, LFO square. So that's the ability to switch the LFO shape, I assume. So rate is in. Okay, I understand. That makes sense to me. So let's go LFO triangle. So what do we patch LFO triangle into? Let's see. LFO triangle to the resonance. Okay, go into res. VCF res. Right. Going into the filter resonance. So now I'm going to press play. I see what we got going on here. All right, let's get a little more, something more groovy going on in here. Turn that LFO rate down. You can pass it to, okay, I'm reading your chats here. Apologies for not switching my camera. You can pass it on to an oscillator for FM rate. Is there a contour parameter? Asks Jazz. I'm not sure. Does not appear so. All right, so we've patched that into the resonance. The 1 volt octave, what does that do for us? Will we get like some octave changes? And then there's a bunch of multi. I don't know what those are. Oh gosh. I don't know. First of all, can I cause any damage by plugging things in here? Is my question. VCO linear FM or Lin FM, I don't know what that is either. I just don't know. Time to start patching in. So do I just patch stuff? I don't know. Patch those two things. Huh. Keaton says, worst thing is nothing happens or it makes horrible noise. All right, how are we doing here, Chad? What do we think? What do we think? Also, I can give you more volume if you need it. Also, when I change pulse width, I feel like I'm not hearing much change. I don't know if I need to do something to sort of activate the pulse width or if I'm doing something wrong. Ah, I just found the mod source for the filter. And it says EG. Who can tell me what EG means? I'm seeing EG all over this synth. I don't know what EG means. Envelope generator, got it. That sounds great, going through the microcosm there. All right, let's pause for a little break here. All right, we've got some things patched together. VCF cut off to the VCO linear line, something. The LFO rate, here, I do have the technology. LFO rate to the VCA, and the LFO triangle to the VCO pulse. All right, toggle the switch next to frequency and it'll go to square. Okay, Nate G, thank you. I figured I was probably making some dumb mistake. Alright, let's just review that so you can tell me which patches are not doing anything. We have VCO line to VCF cutoff. Is that one good? Or is that one's nothing? I believe somebody tried to inform me that the white labeled parameters are outputs or inputs, one or the other. Ah, thank you, Tom. Pulse width, which should be easier to observe with square wave. Yeah, certainly. Oh, look at the very top for the key. You're right. In, out. Sorry. Thanks for watching. I didn't realize that. It's labeled right there, in/out. So an in always has to go to an out. Sorry if that seems kind of, like basic information. But it's not basic to me. Ooh. Huh, we've gone just to noise, okay. Interesting, it's starting to sound like kind of broken, which I like. Alright, what is, so I have to like stand up to understand what I'm doing. What is controlling my LFO at the moment? LFO rate is going to the VCA. Let me unpatch that for a moment. Okay. Yeah, LFO rate is how fast the LFO moves. I was just wondering... to be honest, I don't know what I was wondering, if I can be totally honest. Okay. I wonder... I'm considering perhaps slowing the tempo down of this sequence. How am I doing so far, chat? I feel like I'm sort of getting an understanding. I got... Why is that still going? That's interesting. Okay, so that means the LFO... Let me figure this out on my own, chat. Let me figure this out. The notes are still coming, even though the sequencer is off. VCA mode is on EG, it's not on. So the LFO rate is going to the VCA. Nope, that's not it. The VCO pulse was going to the VCA CV. See, I kind of don't understand that. Well, I guess the control voltage would be like if we're not using MIDI. That's how we would be sending notes in, right? So that's just another entry point for a signal for notes to come in. Do I understand that? Oh my God. I feel like a genius. I feel like I just discovered relativity. If I'm correct. Okay, so that's good to know. Akoji Atsuma, thank you for joining us tonight, this evening, or perhaps Friday morning where you are. Evening for you. Great. We're all in the same evening. Okay. All right. My thought was to perhaps lower the tempo quite a bit. Not quite a bit, but let's go down to a much slower tempo, something like an 80 maybe, and like extend some of these notes to just be longer. So we get just longer tones. And the LFO triangle, let's send it somewhere else. It's already doing the filter cutoff. So like we could go back to doing the resonance. But let me ask you this, chat, and maybe I'm too dumb to understand this. Is there a way to not have the filter be moving with the LFO? And while I ask that, let me see if I if I know the answer. If the filter mod source being the envelope generator. And the VCF mod amount. Thank you, Tom. You're correct. Okay. And LFO is on resonance right now, so that's why we were still getting some kind of feedback or like some kind of change. So, okay. Now, what is... No, that's an output. VCO pulse. VCO mod? LFO to VCO mod. Is that the mod amount? Oh, VCO mod destination can be the pulse width. A lot of this would be sick with drums. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we could start getting into some drum stuff here. Let me pump in some microcosm because I think that adds a lot to it. And hello, Fabian from Argentina. Thank you for joining us today. Julian Franco, what's up, my friend? Thank you for joining us today. Everybody, if you're just tuning in, we are doing some sonic experiments this evening. I do not really know what I'm doing. That's the state of things at the moment. So, if I seem confused or we just start making some random noise here and there, that is the state of affairs. With this sound, let's go ahead and do a new sequence. That's not what I wanted to do. Because I like this sound, but I think we're already low in the octave range. I want to do something perhaps a little bit higher. So the thing also about these experiments that we've been doing in the evening is I'm usually pulling out gear that I don't normally use. And I mean, I would say most of the time I am working in the box. So a lot of gear I have to come back to and reacquaint myself with. So I'm learning the Launchpad just as much as I'm learning the Mother-32. But I do have some core memories of what the heck I should be doing with this thing. All right. So we have sequencer patterns on the Launchpad Pro. That's what I'm just switching to, like an empty sequencer pattern. All right, get out of this. Go back to sequencer. Please go back to the sequencer. Why am I still in patterns? Oh. Oh. That sounds really good. So just before we move on, Linkin Park, you're right. I'm Orange, you're right. Let me try to understand what is having an effect on our sound currently. All right, so this connection, we got one connection from the oscillator line FM. Am I saying that right? Is it linear or line? That is going to the noise, which I like. That's that nice grit to it. Okay, then we have the LFO rate going to the VCO mod, but I'm not 100% sure that that's doing anything. And the VCO mod should be affecting the pulse width. I mean, we could make it affect the frequency. Well, at least I know that signal is working. Ooh. Very cool. Okay, let's not do that though. Let's have it go to the pulse width. But I think the reason is we're on square wave. Interesting. At the poles, the sound goes away. It's so interesting because my instinct is like, oh, we're making too much noise. This has got to be really hard to watch. And then I see comments like, I'm Orange being like, oh, and Julian being like, fire. And I'm like, okay, let's make more noise, I guess. Fight my instincts. LFO triangle, which, okay, so if I don't have the LFO set to triangle, if I have it set to square, is the LFO triangle patch not doing anything? Does that make sense? I think I just answered my own question. No, I guess it is doing something. It still is. I like this sound. Okay, I like this sound. So, like I said before, mix knob affects a lot too. Okay, thank you for that. Mix knob, the VC mix. This is a knob I don't quite understand. VC mix, it says low, mix 1, and high, mix 2. Oh, okay, so I guess now I understand why there's mix 1 and mix 2 inputs. Does that imply that we can do 2 different sounds? I don't really... Oh, don't do that. Now we have no sound. Okay, sorry, y'all. I'm trying to get acquainted with this. Boom. Alright, let's see. Where's my LFO rate going? I think we got to bring the tempo back up. But okay, hold on. Before we go further, I'm lost in the sauce again. I don't like this sort of like clipping. I want a constant sound. And I know it's because I've connected my LFO rate to something that I shouldn't have, but even when I unpatch that, still pulses like that. What have I done? VCF mod amount? Yes, that was it. Oh, sorry about the blurry view. Andrew, hello! Thank you for tuning into our experiments. Tom, thank you for hanging out. I saw your note about the patch recommendations. We might get into that a little later. No, thank you, Sergio. Yes, I hear you about extending the notes on the Launchpad, but the kind of effect that I'm talking about is when certain notes don't come through. So let's watch the sequence as it plays through. That note, see that note, how that doesn't come through? There's something happening there with the filter, I believe. Oh, let's not do that. Okay, I figured it out. I think it's because the LFO triangle was going to the VCO modulation. Huh. It's so funny, or it's so mind-numbing to be like, okay, I patched this over here, but I turned this knob. So if I unpatch this, I have to go back and turn this knob again because it undoes something. You know what I mean? Let's not go too fast yet. All right. So now we got the P6 going. I tried to get the levels right. It's a little complicated because the Mother-32 is running through the P6. We need a little more volume there. Okay, so now, one of the other reasons I like using a sequencer like this, the Launchpad, is because we can do things like probability. So with this synth line that we have going here, I feel like it's going to get way too monotonous, way too fast. So I'm going to go to each note and just lessen the wow, that's a crazy sound. The probability of each note by varying degrees. I'll probably leave all the downbeats intact except maybe just one. So now we should get a pretty varied sound or musical phrase as we go through, I hope. How am I doing so far? How we doing? So like what's really interesting, let's shift a little focus to the P6 for a moment and let's not get ear fatigue, so let's chill out on that sequence. Oh, you know what my dream was was to take the P6, combine it with the Launchpad, the Launch Control XL, and basically recreate the experience of using a TR8S or TR6S, where you would have mixer functionality for your different drums, and then you'd have, you know, your sequencer built in on the P6. The problem is the P6, the MIDI implementation, you can send notes. That's what we're doing here on the Launchpad. We're literally sending notes to the P6. But, and you can also do like granular parameters, like most of the granular parameters, I feel, and some effect stuff. But you cannot do the mixer. Like, you can't get, there's no CC value for the volumes of each sample. Oh, which is a little upsetting. So I had dreams to do that, but it's not in the cars. And then I suppose they make smaller drum machines anyway, but I wish I could have done that. All right, let's check in with chat here. M32 is all structure and add effects and other stuff, and you get some sick sounds. Yeah, I think we're getting a pretty cool sound. This sound is like a intro for a Netflix horror show or an Adult Swim cartoon. Thank you for that. That's the biggest compliment I could get. I love the aesthetic of all the Adult Swim stuff, so yeah, I'm happy to hear that. I don't know if there are any questions on what we're doing so far. I'm not 100% sure I could answer them. We kind of stumbled into getting this synth sound anyway, which I really like. I think a lot of the magic is coming from the noise patch, the LFO square to the noise. That's not what that is. Sorry. The oscillator FM going to the noise. Because that's what the synth sounds like without that. Patch that in. We get this completely dirty sound. And then play that sequence. Which, by the way, we are running through the microcosm. Much appreciated, Jacqueline. Thank you. I think it is a bit of an evocative sound. I think that's a good word for it. And I love this comment. If Timbaland collabed with The Weeknd. That's true. You could build like a pop song around this little riff. Oh, Andrew, you like the percussion? Yeah, the one thing... So I'll just speak to a little bit how we have the Launchpad set up with the P6. It's not there's nothing special going on here, except just sending on the correct MIDI channel. So since these notes are in key, which I could have prepared a custom layout for the Launchpad Pro, maybe I'll do that in the future. Since these notes are in key, we're not getting all of our samples from the P6. I would need chromatic notes to do that. And there's 6, let's see, there's 8 banks, 6 samples each. We all know I'm so fantastic at math. 8 times 6 is 48. 6, 12, 18, 20, 48. 6 times 8. So we would need 48 pads to play every single sample. But I have enough, because of the way my samples are arranged. I know that I've got like kicks, snares, and a few cymbals here. Skylotus says, what is the Novation Launchpad? Is it Mark 3 or Mark 4? No Mark 4 yet. No leaking today. This is just the Launchpad Pro Mark 3, I believe, is how it's called. Very versatile piece of gear that I don't really use that much. I think when it came out, I was not into all this fun synth stuff. I was mostly doing in the box. So it's a great Launchpad for that, but I mostly favored the Launchpad X. But for a nice, slim, like super slim piece of gear, sequencer, 2 MIDI outs. I mean, it's pretty versatile by that respect. I had considered possibly using the Poly Play for this, but since we're using a monophonic synth, I don't know. I guess we could have done that. It's a little less fluid the way you work with the Poly Play, you know? Yes, you can put it in. You're correct, AK10, that you can put it into chromatic mode and switch octaves. You can do that. You can make totally custom interfaces. And if I go to note mode, I'm in chromatic mode, but I would have to change the MIDI channel and all that to go to the P6. Microcosm I want, right. So if you get the Roland T8, you will get the same P6 vibe, but will have 909, 606, 808 drum machine sounds built into it and works wonders, plus a 303 bass sequencer. It's slightly tempting, but I think at that point, WSPN, I would just put those kinds of samples onto my P6 because I already enjoy using the P6. The thing that I was talking about that I wanted to do with the P6 is have a more compact version of my TR-8S with gear I already had. I do understand that they make the TR-6S and they have the smaller machines that do essentially what I'm asking for, but I was just wondering if I could do some mapping situations to do it with the gear that I had, but the MIDI implementation on the P6, it's rough. You can't control the mixer. Dungeon Master is back with clean hands, everybody. Round of applause. Thank you. Folks, I hope you are enjoying the stream. It does help more people find the stream if you like it. So just click the thumbs up while you're here, while we're taking this short break. And I just take a moment to say, hey, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for hanging out with me and making some tunes and listening to my sonic experiments, watching me being confused. It's a lot of fun. Oh boy, big question from Andrew. Let's take a break. Let's take a break and ponder this huge question. What would you do for a clean slate if you didn't have the gear yet? If I didn't have any gear, I would just be using my laptop. I mean, that's how I started in the first place. I would just get the best laptop I could afford, and that's it. Or, well, you know what? In modern day, it depends on what my budget would be. Obviously, MacBook Pro was always my goal. That's what I use now, obviously. But since I was younger and started music production, I always worked on these Windows laptops that always had some varying levels of quality and issues. And Mac was just the way to go. So I ended up finally saving up for MacBook Pro, been in that ecosystem for a while. So if I was starting clean, I'd be like, okay, MacBook Pro. But I would really be closely eyeing iPad workflows, because especially if I think back to like my high school, college days, trying to be super budget conscious, iPad is just like a cut above the rest. I probably would have been full on iPad kid if I grew up in this current generation and like been full on making everything on iPad. Oh, WSPN is Andre von Zark, a rebrand to a newspaper of women in sports, especially through softball. I don't really understand the second part. WSPN. I rebranded to a newspaper of women in sports, especially through softball. Interesting. So from are you saying you were going from a music account to now you're covering women's softball? That's very interesting to me. Interesting pivot, but we got to do what we got to do. Dungeon Master, I got to say thank you for the 32 months. Thank you so much for being a channel member. Much appreciated. If you all do want to support the channel other than just liking and subscribing, which does help a lot, you can click the join button below the video. It's not always available on mobile though, so if you're watching on desktop, you will see a join button on the channel below the video. You can become a channel member. There's members only content, as well as members only downloads, and our Discord server, where you get to hang out post-stream. I was thinking with the hardware setup, decent budget, so like for a hardware setup, if I was just starting out, I'm not sure. I still feel so unacquainted in the hardware world. I mean, I would probably start with a very simple groove box, which is actually the video that I'm putting out on Sunday. But what Groovebox is really... I mean, I love all these children equally. I mean, honestly, like Move occupies a lot of my time. I'd probably do some combination of the Move and something. Move and P6 are a great pair, and that's a great budget to think about. That's a great budget pairing to think about, I guess. I don't know. It's just so hard to answer that question because there's so many directions you can go. Do you want a drum machine? Do you want a synth? Do you want something that does multiple things, you know? I get 9K readers doing this women in sports softball news. Unlike music, is hit and miss no matter how much I promote it. My friend, congrats to you. That's amazing. I mean, like, I think all musicians can relate to that, what you're talking about. So it's cool that you can, hopefully you're still pursuing music, but you can sort of like decouple it with an online presence maybe, and you do this other thing with that has an online presence that gets a lot more attention. That probably feels pretty fulfilling. So that's cool. Yeah, Dustin puts it pretty succinctly. A sampler, a synth, and an interface. That is a pretty good recommendation. The best of both worlds. Simpler and a sample. I can't even talk. Okay, back to the music. VCF out to VSF resonance. really know how to adjust probability on the fly. I also don't know, like, if a step has multiple things on it, what am I adjusting the probability for? I guess let's check that. I guess everything on the step. It's not ideal. I guess I could split the different kinds of drums across the different MIDI channels, but I only have 4 sequencer tracks. I don't know, that's kind of odd. It's not bad with that little kick skip every now and then, though. Little cassette action. What do we think? What do we think? Ooh, what the heck? All right, y'all. Oh, well, there's that. I mean, that was fun. I don't know. I kind of blacked out there for, I don't know how long that was going, but that was a lot of fun. I think this, I don't know. It's kind of like when we were working with the drone synth a few weeks ago, it's like you just get lost in this very simple idea. And like, if I think about any of the performances or things that I usually put together that are very melodically driven, very driven by chord progressions and all this stuff, this is such a different way of making music that feels almost like encoded in the human DNA. You know what I mean? Like the rhythm, the repetition, the slight variation, most of the expression coming from the sound design itself rather than the musical ideas, you know? It's very, very intriguing. I'm starting to really kind of understand this kind of music, and I hope from a listener perspective that it's interesting. I mean, from a performance perspective, I feel like I'm feeding off of what I'm hearing, so it feels like I want to keep going. I mean, that little nonsense solo section in the middle was one thing, but it feels very, I don't know how to describe it. It feels very natural. It feels very like primal almost, I guess. Unfortunate Teller, is this live recorded? Yes, this live will be on my channel when we finish. Hypnotic is a good word to describe it, Andrew. Yes. Go modular. Danger. Yes, we're entering into the danger zone of modular. Immersive. Yes, another great word for it. Thank you. I guess y'all were enjoying that that session. I need a drink. I should try to build some kind of, I don't know. Had some really nice transitions, felt organic. I agree, and I'm going to have to watch back and see what the hell I was doing. I mean, I was obviously across these different devices changing different things, but there's just enough to grab onto here, and like just being able to quickly patch that out for a quick sound design change and patch it back in for a transition. That was effective. I swapped from like a more granular style effect to this glitch style effect called interrupt, which added a bit more mechanical chaos. But my first instinct is like, oh, should I overcomplicate it? Should I add more layers? But I think there's some refinement to do, but building something off of a setup like this would be a lot of fun. When techno was invented, it was all it's what it was all about. Sound design, jam, recorded, and happy accidents. I think that's where it's at. What was the P6 doing? Good question. The P6 was all the drums. So all the drum sounds you heard were coming from the P6. P6 was being sequenced by the Launchpad Pro. So these drum sounds that you hear are the Roland P6. Just using this as a sequencer. I could, of course, sequence on the P6, but the Launchpad Pro is sort of the master clock, master control device. I'll come back to this setup soon. If there's any additions to this you think we can make, there actually probably won't be a stream next week, unfortunately, unless I move it to a different day, which I'm not sure will be possible. So we might skip next week, but when we come back, we could add to this setup. We could do some tweaking. I'm not sure. I'll definitely be open for suggestions. And if you're in the Discord, definitely want to chat about that post-stream between now and the next stream. This was kind of a lot of fun, though. Somebody mentioned, all right, Brandon said, how the heck do I make loops on the 404 Mark II without losing the delay tails? Well, Brandon, you should, well, there's kind of no great way around it other than apply the delay after you make the loop. Any kind of spatial or time-based effect, you should try to apply it after the loop. And then what you should, it depends on how long you need it to be. There's workarounds, but you should record double what you actually need, essentially. That way you have a take that just starts, and then you have a take where the delay tails bleed over, and it will make more sense as it loops around. But there's no, when you work with samples like that, that's always a challenge. Would love to hear some stereo voices. Yeah, anything that can get us like one more layer of something. By the way, last night, I'll leave you with this. I was working, just move. Just like, okay, before bed, what am I going to do? I'm not quite tired yet. Let's work on a house track. I'll play the house track I was, I made last night before bed. Just a simple little jam. More pedals, each box / synth with a specific pedal would be nice here. I don't have the technology for that. I need a good mixer. That Teenage Engineering mixer becomes more and more appealing every single day. I have a Tascam mixer. It is just a pain to set up currently. Here's a little house track for you. Last night's before bed sketch. Oh, thank you, Dungeon Master. Yes, we do have a challenge this month. All right, so everybody who's here, stick around because we have some events where you can like win stuff, and I have a free thing that I'm gonna point y'all towards at the end of the stream. All right, let me find the website to share with you all because there's prizes involved. TAETRO.com/garden, www.taetro.com/garden. We're having a sample challenge. You can download these vocal samples totally free and enter in this challenge. Anybody can do it. You go to taetro.com/garden. Don't forget the www. Free download of the vocal pack is here. Here's all the challenge details. Here is the link to join the Discord. There's a community garden section of the Discord that you can join. Even if you're not a member, you won't get access to the full Discord, but you'll get access to that section. So at the very least, download the vocal pack because it's free. And then speaking of free, let me hack the mainframe here and flip a switch so y'all can get a free sample instrument. Dun, 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 dun. What do we think of this little house jam? I think like Move is perfect for house, or like making little house sketches, of course. I gotta hit the publish button on this. Did I write all the correct information? Yes, I hope. All right, save and continue, publish and continue. Copy the URL. All right, y'all, you're the first ones to see this. Just a little, so don't think it's anything big, but this is a free like sample keys instrument. It's very lo-fi sounding. Here, let me see if I can bring up the sound real quick. And it's a free like instrument essentially that you can download that is built on Soundbox by Audio Modern. Now Soundbox is totally free, and if you download Soundbox as a plugin or on your mobile device, iPad, you can download this sound, import it. All the instructions are there. This is what it sounds like. Basically, I took a bunch of synths, not a bunch of synths, but I took some synths, and what button do I want to hit? And I recorded them to tape, and this is the instrument I made. There's a little field recording layered in there. So I hope you enjoy that instrument. It's my birthday tomorrow, so I wanted to create a little gift for the community that is free to download. You all are the first to see it. I'm going to be posting more about it tomorrow, obviously, but go grab that. And that's it. We had a lot of fun with today's jam. I had a lot of fun, at least. I hope you had a lot of fun watching my confusion. And thank you to everybody who chimed in and was Sherpaing me through that process, because it's definitely not something I'm totally comfortable with. So really, thank you all. And thank you for the birthday wishes. Much appreciated. I'll have a video dropping. Well, check out the short form video that'll go out on Instagram and Shorts tomorrow, which will promote the instrument I just talked about. And then I'll have a video on groove boxes coming out on Sunday. And I'm currently working on a video. I'm working on a few videos now. A lot of stuff that we've been talking about here on this stream. I'm working on the 404 plus Move video. I'm working on the drone synth video as well, amongst some other things that I can't quite remember. But thank you all for the birthday wishes. Rogue Shadow 99, thank you so much. I thank you to everybody. Liana, thank you for saying hi. Thank you for being here. A lot of people popping up out of the woodwork here at the end, but I really appreciate it. I can't wait to go back and watch that jam, because that was a lot of fun. All right, y'all. Thank you all for the birthday wishes. Have a great have a great Friday tomorrow, or have a great weekend if you're already in your Friday. I'll see y'all next time. This has been TAETRO. Have a good one.